They say love conquers all, but what happens when love faces a formidable opponent, a mother's fierce disapproval, a past shrouded in loss? This is my story, a single mother who finds love again, only to discover that the path to happiness is paved with obstacles. Join me as she navigates a whirlwind of emotions, confronts prejudice, and fights for her right to love, all while building a family filled with hope and resilience. My name is Olivia Smith, and I'm a 38-year-old single mom and graphic designer, making a living in Chicago. My whole world revolves around my delightful 8-year-old daughter, Zora. Though our family is small, the love and happiness we share fill our cozy home. 5 years ago, my life changed forever when my husband Tom was tragically taken from us in a car accident. That fateful night, I was burning the midnight oil at the office, preparing for a critical presentation. Tom called me repeatedly, but I was too engrossed in my work to pick up. When I finally finished late that night and returned home, a police officer was waiting at my doorstep. "Ma'am, your husband has been in an accident," he said. The moment those words reached my ears, it felt like my entire world crumbled. I remember it vividly to this day. In the 5 years since, I've marched forward hand in hand with Zora, carrying Tom's memories in my heart. Little Zora may not have fully grasped the grief of losing her father, but I vowed to always be there for her, to love her enough for both her parents. "Hey, Mom, what's for dinner tonight?" Zora chirps as she drops her backpack after school like she always does. "Well, what's your special request?" I ask with a tender smile. "I want your famous mac and cheese." Zora dashes to the kitchen and eagerly hands me an apron as I cook. I cherish the carefree chats with Zora, the happenings at school, tales of her friends, and her favorite subjects. Seeing her unfettered grin never fails to lift my spirits. After dinner, we settle in to watch TV or play games together, reading storybooks in bed until Zora drifts off. It's our nightly ritual. "Sweet dreams, my little princess," I whisper as I plant a kiss on her forehead. Once Zora's sound asleep, I dive into my design work. Being able to do graphic design from home makes it much easier to balance job and parenting duties. Those late-night hours immersed in creative projects with a mug of coffee by my side are priceless to me. Weekends are for shopping trips with Zora, picnics in the park, and building precious memories one by one. Though time and money can be tight as a single mom, nothing is more important than creating special moments with my daughter. Our life is far from easy, but every time I see Zora's radiant smile, I'm reminded that we have to keep pushing forward. I know Tom is watching over us from heaven. With that faith in my heart, I greet each day with resilience and hope. It was during one of our usual outings to the neighborhood park that I first met Michael. Zora was playing on the swings while I sat on a bench checking work emails. Glancing up, I noticed Zora about to fall off the swing. "Zora!" I rushed to her aid, but before I could reach her, a man swooped in and caught her securely. "You okay, sweetie?" the man asked gently as he helped Zora off the swing. "Thank you so much." I hurried over, deeply grateful. "Oh, it's nothing. No scrapes or bruises, right, honey?" The man gave Zora a warm smile. In his early 30s, he had kind features and a handsome face. "I'm Michael Williams. I was admiring what an adorable daughter you have when I saw her start to slip off the swing." "I'm Olivia Smith. I can't thank you enough." I reiterated my gratitude. "Thanks, mister," Zora chimed in brightly. Michael winked at her and said, "Anytime, little princess." We ended up chatting on a park bench for a while after that. Michael, it turned out, was a lawyer who worked at a nearby office. He had stopped by the park for a jog after work. I shared my story, too, about being a single mom working from home as a graphic designer and about my late husband. Michael listened intently, nodding empathetically, his gaze full of compassion. "You're an incredibly strong woman, Olivia. Juggling work and motherhood all on your own is truly admirable." His words made me feel a warmth I hadn't experienced in a long time. When I glanced at my watch, I was surprised to see dusk approaching. "Oh my, look at the time. We should head home." That's when Michael said, "Olivia, I'd love to see you again and chat more if you're open to it. Perhaps the three of us could have dinner together sometime." His invitation caught me a bit off guard, but seeing how excited Zora was at the prospect, "Yay, Mom! Let's go eat with him," I agreed with a smile. 2 days later, the three of us enjoyed a lovely meal at a local Italian restaurant. Michael brought Zora a storybook and asked me thoughtful questions about my work. It all felt so natural and familial. Dinner dates became a regular occasion for us, and Michael and I grew closer with each caring gesture and dedicated act. He brought healing and happiness to my once heavy heart. Then one special day, Michael took Zora and me to the zoo. As we watched Zora squeal with glee at the lions, exchanging joyful glances, Michael tenderly took my hand in his. "Olivia, you fill my life with joy. I want to be by your and Zora's side, today and always." Tears streamed down my cheeks at his heartfelt confession. "Oh, Michael, you make me happier than I ever thought I could be again." With those words, I fell into his loving embrace. As my relationship with Michael blossomed, I gradually learned more about his family, especially his mother, Valentina, whom he often spoke of with great reverence. Valentina was a retired professor from the University of Chicago, an accomplished and intelligent woman. Michael adored his mother, regularly visiting her home for meals. "I'd love for you to meet my mother this Sunday," Michael suggested during one of our dinners. "I've told her all about you, and she's eager to get to know you." Though I felt some nerves about gaining his family's approval, my love for Michael took precedence. I agreed to the plan. That weekend, I accompanied Michael and Zora to Valentina's house. When we rang the doorbell, an elegantly poised woman answered. "Hello, Valentina. I'm Olivia Smith." I greeted her with my warmest smile, presenting a gift box of gourmet treats. But Valentina's expression remained stern. Her response to my introduction was rather curt. "Ah, yes, you're Olivia. Do come in." We settled into the living room with me sandwiched between Michael and Valentina on the sofa. She eyed me critically, brow furrowed. "Michael mentioned you're a single mother who does design work from home, is that right?" "Yes, that's correct. I'm very fortunate to have a setup that allows me to balance my career and parenting," I replied brightly. "Working from home. I wonder if that provides a stable income. I certainly hope you're not depending on Michael," Valentina said pointedly, her tone laced with condescension. "Mom, that's not fair. Olivia is doing an amazing job." Michael immediately came to my defense. Valentina was equally cold toward Zora, even when Zora sweetly tried to engage her grandma. "Come play with me," Valentina rebuffed her, stating, "I am not your grandmother." That afternoon, tea was a series of trials for me. Valentina fired off question after question about my background and parenting approach. "Did you attend university? Raising a child alone can't be good for your daughter." I did my best to respond, but winning Valentina over seemed an impossible feat. Even when Michael interjected, "Mom, please stop," her icy gaze remained unwavering. Later that night, as Michael drove me home, I couldn't help but sigh. "Olivia, I'm so sorry about my mother. She didn't mean to attack you like that. I believe she'll come around eventually," Michael reassured me gently, squeezing my hand. I managed to smile back at him, but couldn't shake the feeling that Valentina's disapproval cast a dark shadow over our future. As my relationship with Michael progressed, we began to consider marriage. However, Valentina's opposition loomed as a formidable obstacle. One evening, Michael invited me to dinner. I sensed something was weighing on him from his unusually tense demeanor. After we were seated at the restaurant, Michael took my hands in his expression earnest. "Olivia, when I'm with you, the whole world seems brighter. Spending my days with you gives my life meaning." Then he pulled out a small box from his pocket. "Olivia, will you marry me? I want to build a blissfully happy life with you forever." Tears welled up in my eyes at his words. "Yes, yes, of course," I managed through my joyful sobs, falling into Michael's embrace. At that moment, we were the happiest couple in the world, but our relationship was short-lived. The very next day, I got a call from Michael. "Olivia, I told my mother about our engagement and—" His voice trailed off weakly. My heart sank. "She disapproves, doesn't she?" "Yes, Mom says you're not right for me, that as a single mom with an unstable job, you're just after my money." I was stunned, hurt, and angered by Valentina's harsh prejudice. Yet I also felt guilty for putting Michael in this position. "Michael, I love you so much, but if your mother is so against us—" "Olivia, I choose you. My mother will just have to learn to accept us," Michael declared firmly, giving me strength. That weekend, we went to see Valentina again. Michael informed her of his resolute decision to marry me. "Mom, Olivia is my life partner. Making her my wife is what will make me happy." But Valentina's response was frigid. "Michael, I don't believe you're thinking straight. Olivia will ruin your life." "What do you mean by that?" I asked, my voice quavering. "You are not good enough for my son. Your education and status are lacking. Being a single mother is also a major disadvantage." Her words sliced through my heart like a knife. Michael lashed out at his mother. "Enough! Stop insulting Olivia! She is the woman I've chosen." "Michael, you don't know what real happiness is. Someday you'll realize that," Valentina retorted coldly before storming out of the room. That night, Michael held me close and whispered, "Olivia, I won't give up on us. I'll convince my mother, I promise. Please have faith in our future." I buried my face in Michael's chest, my tears flowing freely. Facing Valentina's objections would take all the strength of Michael's love. Hand in hand, we began to walk this difficult path together. Hey, pause for a moment. Would you care to support us? Like this video and subscribe for more. Now, let's dive back into the story. As my wedding to Michael approached, my joy was tainted by the ongoing tension with Valentina. Her interference only escalated as we made preparations for the big day. One afternoon, Michael and I visited a bridal boutique to choose my wedding gown. Michael beamed at the sight of me in a pure white dress. "Olivia, you're the most beautiful bride in the world." Just then, Valentina barged into the shop unannounced. That dress doesn't suit you at all. Pick something more refined," she scoffed. I was dumbfounded. Michael tried to reason with his mother. "Mom, please don't meddle with Olivia's dress choice. I want you to respect her decisions." But Valentina wouldn't hear it. "A wedding reflects on the family's reputation. My input should be considered." In the end, I was pressured into selecting a gown that met Valentina's tastes. Michael squeezed my hand apologetically. "Olivia, I'm sorry I couldn't give you the dress you wanted, but no matter what you wear, you'll be the most stunning bride." It wasn't just the dress, though. The guest list, venue selection, and every aspect of wedding planning became a battle. Valentina incessantly pushed her opinions on us. "You need to be more selective with the invitations. It could affect Michael's career. Choose a more prestigious venue. I won't have you getting married at some shabby location." Her demands were a far cry from the intimate, heartfelt celebration Michael and I envisioned. He was struggling under the weight of his mother's intrusion, but never stopped trying to protect me. "Olivia, let me handle my mother. I don't want you to have to put up with this." "No, Michael, we'll get through this together. I'm on your side," I reassured him. Amidst all this, we started looking for our first home. Building a cozy family life was our dream, so we focused on neighborhoods well-suited for raising children. Our realtor showed us several listings. Finally, we found the perfect place, a house with big, bright windows in the living room and a yard where kids could play. "Michael, this is where I can picture us raising Zora, watching her grow. I'd love to make our home here." I hugged Michael's arm, my heart full. Predictably, Valentina was unimpressed. "This house is too small. There's no proper room for guests or extra space for children." "But Valentina, a house like this lets us prioritize our family's comfort," I countered. "Tisk, tisk. You would pick a house unworthy of Michael. You should be buying something that reflects his stature," she said, her words bruising my spirit once more. Michael attempted to placate his mother, but she wouldn't budge. "Michael, you deserve so much better than this. There are far more suitable women out there for you than Olivia." Her remark made my blood boil. "Valentina, I intend to make Michael happy. Please accept us," I pleaded. She glared at me, eyes devoid of warmth. "You'll never live up to my expectations. Michael will see that sooner or later." Valentina's disapproval remained the biggest hurdle in our path. Somehow, Michael and I made it past Valentina's objections. Our wedding was a small but love-filled affair. Zora made the sweetest flower girl, scattering petals in her little white dress, looking every bit an angel. Voice thick with emotion, Michael recited his vows. "Olivia, meeting you was the single best thing to ever happen to me. I promise to love you, cherish you, protect you for all my days." Through joyful tears, I pledged my heart to him in return. "Michael, I can't wait to walk through life with you. My love for you is everlasting." To the sound of our gathered loved ones' cheers and applause, we embarked on our new journey as husband and wife. A few months into our married life in our new home, I received some wonderful news. My period was late and I felt changes in my body. "Michael, I think I might be pregnant," I told him one morning. His face instantly lit up with joy. "Olivia, that's the best news ever." Michael embraced me tightly as we shared in the excitement. We promptly visited the obstetrician and received confirmation of the pregnancy. "Congratulations, you're 6 weeks along and the baby is developing well," the doctor informed us, leaving us overwhelmed with emotion. Michael placed his hand on my belly and spoke softly. "Hello there, little one. I'm your daddy. Always remember that. I love you more than anything in this world." We shared the news with Zora, too. "Zora, you're going to be a big sister. There's a baby on the way." Her eyes sparkled with delight. "Yay, I can't wait to meet the baby." Wanting to share this miracle with our loved ones, we reached out to Valentina. Michael called her to announce the pregnancy. "Mom, Olivia is pregnant. You're going to be a grandmother. Congratulations." His voice brimmed with happiness, but Valentina's response was far from enthusiastic. Are you sure she's pregnant?" Michael was taken aback. "Mom, what do you mean? We've had it confirmed by the doctor." "She must be trying to trap you. I bet she's faking the pregnancy to get her hands on your money," Valentina accused harshly. Anger flashed across Michael's face. "Mom, that's not true. She loves me. We're becoming a real family." "Michael, you're being deceived. Olivia is a cunning woman. The nerve of her claiming to be pregnant as a single mother. It's unbelievable." "Enough, Mom. Stop trying to ruin our happiness," Michael shot back. But Valentina hung up on him. He comforted me, and as I fought back tears, "Olivia, I believe in you. My mother will have to accept that this child is a product of our love." The next day, while out shopping, I felt the eerie sensation of being watched. I looked around but saw no one suspicious. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. As this continued over the next few days, my suspicions grew stronger. Someone was keeping tabs on me. Deeply unsettled, I confided in Michael. "Honey, I think I'm being followed. I feel like someone's watching me." He took my hands in his. "Olivia, I thought I noticed a suspicious man around you recently, too. That's why I asked a friend to investigate." Just then, Michael's cell phone rang. It was John, his detective friend. "Michael, about that investigation you requested. I've discovered that your mother has been having your wife followed." He was dumbfounded. "What? My mom is having Olivia tailed?" "Yes, she approached me to keep an eye on Olivia's activities." Michael looked at me apologetically. "Olivia, it seems this was my mother's doing. I'm so sorry for putting you through this." I was at a loss for words, my legs nearly giving out from under me. "Why? I haven't done anything wrong." He held me tightly and whispered, "What my mother did is unforgivable. I won't stand for anyone hurting you." That evening, Michael confronted Valentina. "Mom, why did you have Olivia followed? She's done nothing to deserve this." She remained defiant. "I needed to verify if Olivia was truly pregnant. That woman can't be trusted." "Your prejudice is tearing us apart. Olivia is my wife and the mother of my child. You need to accept that." "I will never accept her. She'll ruin your life. Mark my words." Valentina glared coldly. Despite it all, Michael and I still hoped to mend relations with Valentina. With my pregnancy progressing smoothly into the second trimester and the baby's health more reassuring, we decided to invite her over for dinner. "Olivia, this is our chance to improve things with Mom. Let's show her your kind heart," Michael said optimistically. I agreed. "You're right. I want Valentina to understand our happiness for Zora and the baby's sake. I'd love to foster a peaceful family dynamic." On the evening of the dinner, we welcomed Valentina at the door. I smiled at her warmly. "Valentina, thank you so much for coming. Let's enjoy this time together." But her expression remained stony. "I can't wait to see what you're plotting," she remarked icily before entering our home. As the meal began, Valentina launched into an interrogation. "Olivia, are you pregnant? You barely look like you're showing." Fighting to stay composed, I replied calmly, "Yes, the baby is growing well. My bump isn't too noticeable yet, but the little one is healthy." "Is that so? I wonder if you're lying, trying to trick Michael into giving you money, perhaps?" Her words cut me deeply. "Mom, stop it. Quit insulting Olivia." Michael slammed his hand on the table, visibly irate. The rest of the dinner continued in strained silence. I was exhausted by the end of it. "Michael, I'm going to get some fresh air outside," I said, heading out to the backyard. As I stood by the pool, Valentina approached me. "Olivia, I will never approve of you. You aren't good enough for Michael." I looked up at her, pleading. "Valentina, I love Michael with all my heart. Please accept us." Suddenly, she shoved me forcefully. "I've had enough of your lies." Her scream pierced the night air. The unexpected jolt made me lose my balance. In what felt like slow motion, I tumbled backward into the pool, sinking into the water's depths. "Olivia!" I heard Michael's distant cry as the cold water enveloped me. As consciousness faded, I reached out desperately. I had to protect the baby. That was my last thought before everything went black. When I regained consciousness, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. As I opened my eyes, I saw the white ceiling of the hospital room stretching above me. "Olivia, you're awake." Michael's voice came from beside me, and I slowly turned my face towards him. "Michael, where am I?" I tried to make sense of the situation, but my mind was still hazy. "Valentina pushed you into the backyard pool. You were brought to the hospital, and you're in the ICU now," Michael explained, his eyes filled with deep concern. Suddenly, it all came flooding back. Valentina's icy glare, the sudden shove, the sensation of sinking into the cold water. "Is the baby okay?" I asked hesitantly. Michael gave a small smile and squeezed my hand. "The baby is safe, but your condition took a turn for the worse. They had to perform an emergency C-section." "What?" I was at a loss for words at this unexpected news. "You were hemorrhaging heavily and in critical condition for a while. But thanks to the doctor's efforts, both you and the baby pulled through. You've been asleep for 2 weeks." Tears streamed down my face as Michael explained. "I want to see the baby," I whispered. "Helly, just a moment, I'll have the baby brought in." With that, Michael pressed the nurse call button. A few minutes later, a nurse entered the room, pushing a small bassinet. "Mrs. Smith, here's your baby, a healthy baby boy." Michael gently lifted the baby and brought him over to me. "Olivia, your courage saved this child's life." The instant I held the baby in my arms, I was overwhelmed by an indescribable feeling of joy. His tiny hand gripped my finger tightly. "My darling baby, you've been so brave. Mommy is so glad she could protect you." I softly kissed the baby's forehead. Michael spoke to the baby too. "Hey, little guy, thank you for being so strong. Daddy and Mommy love you with all our hearts." The nurse watched our emotional family reunion with a warm smile. "Have you decided on a name for the baby yet?" Michael and I exchanged glances and grinned. "Hope," I said, "because he's our precious symbol of hope." "What a beautiful name. Congratulations," the nurse said, beaming as I cradled Hope in my arms. I suddenly remembered Valentina. "Michael, what about Valentina?" Michael's expression darkened. "Mom, she's been arrested on charges of attempted murder. She'll have to appear in court." "I see," I sighed, my emotions in turmoil. "But right now, you and Hope are the priority. Let's leave my mother's fate to the courts." Michael tenderly kissed my cheek. "Valentina's child garnered significant media attention in court. She refused to admit to any wrongdoing. That woman got pregnant to trap my son. There's no way she had a child," she yelled defiantly. However, Hope's existence was an undeniable fact. With my testimony and the overwhelming evidence, Valentina was found guilty. "The defendant is hereby sentenced to 5 years in prison," the judge declared, and I breathed a sigh of relief as Michael supported me out of the courtroom. We were swarmed by reporters. "Mrs. Smith, how do you feel right now?" I spoke with a resolute expression. "I simply fulfilled my duty as a mother. I believe that protecting one's child, no matter the obstacles, is a parent's responsibility." Michael, holding Hope, added to my statement. "We will live with hope and face the future head on. We're deeply grateful to everyone who supported us." A few months after the trial, Michael, Zora, Hope, and I were enjoying our happy days together. Michael was thriving as a lawyer while I juggled parenting and my work as a web designer. "Mommy, Hope walked!" Zora shouted excitedly one day. I rushed to the living room and witnessed an unbelievable sight. Hope, only 10 months old, was toddling around on his own. "Hope, that's amazing. You did so well." I hugged my son, tears of joy welling up. Michael came home and was moved by Hope's first steps. "Good job, little man. Daddy's proud of you. You'll make a great marathon runner someday." We held Hope's small hands and smiled warmly at each other, cherishing this blissful moment we had gained after overcoming such hardships. "Hope, Zora, and Michael, my precious family. Let's keep building a home filled with smiles always." Michael nodded and kissed my forehead. "Being with you is my greatest happiness. Nothing can break our family's bond." Looking out the window, I saw the gentle sunlight streaming in, as if warmly illuminating the future that lay ahead of us. Having weathered countless trials, there was no hardship we feared. Walking through life with my beloved family filled with hope was my unwavering determination. Let's conclude the story shortly. Life with Michael and our children became a beautiful tapestry of love, laughter, and shared moments. Zora blossomed into a bright, kind young girl, always eager to help Hope take his first wobbly steps. As the years passed, Valentina's absence became a distant memory, replaced by the warmth of a growing family. Michael's career flourished, and he became a respected advocate for families facing similar struggles. My graphic design business thrived, fueled by my passion and the support of my loving husband. We learned that love, like a resilient tree, can weather any storm. We learned that family is not defined by blood, but by the bonds we choose to forge. And most importantly, we learned that even in the darkest of times, hope, like a tiny seed, can blossom into something beautiful. The journey wasn't always easy, but with each other by our side, we faced every challenge with unwavering love and a shared belief in a bright future. For in the end, that's what truly mattered. The love we shared, the family we built, and the hope that burned bright within our hearts. After experiencing the full journey of our story, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How did the story resonate with you? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay blessed. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. "I will do my best." Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. "Did you not hear what I said?" "I'm sorry." I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit any time," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look, "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day." Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. "So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.